Okay. Good morning and thank you to all in attendance today. I'd like to call to order the November 27th, 2023 meeting of the County of Perth Land Division Committee. I'd also like to make note that what will be shown on the screen for those viewing at home is our remote meeting platform, whereby whoever is speaking will be shown predominantly, with smaller images of members and staff attending along the edge of the screen. The agenda for this meeting hearing has been posted online at perthcounty.ca. If you want to follow along, please feel free to access it now. Remind all committee members, staff, and others participating to please mute your microphones when not in use to reduce feedback. As this meeting is being held remotely, the Secretary Treasurer will call for each of the members' names, and each member will respond if they are in favor or opposed to the motion. The Chair will announce the result of the vote. Before we proceed, we will confirm attendance of the committee members by roll call.
Councillor McDermott.
Here.
Councillor Aitchison.
Here.
Councillor Trentowski.
Present.
Councillor McKenzie.
Here.
And Chair Duncan.
Here. Thank you. And I'll be looking for a motion that the November 27th agenda be approved. Moved by Councillor McKenzie, second by Councillor Aitchison.
I should just keep myself off of mute. Councillor McDermott, how are you in favor? How do you vote?
Yes.
Councillor Trentowski.
Yes.
Councillor Aitchison.
Yes.
Councillor McKenzie.
Yes.
And Chair Duncan.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. Any disclosures of pecuniary interest, please declare now or at any time throughout the meeting. Don't see anyone. Okay. I have need a motion that the Land Division Committee approve the minutes of the September 25th, 2023 committee meeting. Moved by Councillor McDermott, seconded by Councillor Trentowski. Any questions or comments to those minutes? Okay, seeing none, we'll ask Michelle for the vote.
Councillor McKenzie, how do you vote?
Yes.
Councillor Trentowski.
Yes.
Councillor Aitchison.
Yes.
Councillor McDermott.
Yes.
And Chair Duncan.
Yes.
Carried.
That's carried. Thank you. Number 5, we have application for consent to sever B3323 for 4920 line 10, and Jeff Bannon is going to present that for us. Jeff, it's all yours.
Thank you. So consent application B33-23 was submitted by Caroline Baker on behalf of Anthony and Darla Penner, Robert and Sally Taves, to sever a residential lot that is considered surplus to the farm operator's needs. The owners own another farm in Kingsville, Ontario, which consists of cash crops and a farm residence. The severed portion will be approximately 6,500 square meters in area with approximately 46.8 meters of frontage on Perth Road 163. Land contains a one-story detached dwelling with accessory structures and a workshop. Subject lands are also under consideration of another consent application, which is B34-23, which intends to sever 2,817 square meters of land from the lands. The retained farmland will be approximately 40 hectares in area with approximately 336 meters of frontage on Road 163. The lands to be retained are currently vacant of any buildings and structures, and they're intended to remain in agricultural and aggregate production. The provincial policy statement states that lot creation in prime agriculture areas is only permitted for agricultural related uses, provided that any new lot will be limited to minimum size needed to accommodate the use and appropriate sewage and water services, and if a residence is surplus to the farming operation as a result of a farm consolidation. So the applicant has provided a sketch that includes only the lands that are needed to accommodate the residential use, and the lands to be severed include an existing residential dwelling, accessory buildings, and a workshop. So the proposed lot is minimal in size. The subject lands are designated agricultural in the official plan. The direction of the provincial policy statement on the surplus farm dwellings is implemented by the policies in that OP. Section 5.6.3.1 of the official plan outlines those requirements. The property owners have demonstrated that they own the majority share of the subject lands and that the existing residence that is habitable and meets the minimum 10-year requirement for age. The lands to be retained are designated as agricultural, primary or secondary aggregate resource, licensed pit or quarry, limestone resource, and natural resource environment in the official plan. As mentioned, the proposed residential lot is minimal in size. It does not include any more prime agricultural land than what is required, and that they also have that additional residence. No areas of cultivation have been lost, and there are no livestock facilities on the lands. The applicants will be required to obtain a zoning bylaw amendment from the Township of Perth South as a condition of the severance. In light of the foregoing, plan staff are of the opinion that the application conforms to the County of Perth official plan. Subject lands are zoned agricultural A, agricultural A-2, and mineral aggregate resources MAR. Farm buildings and structures, including livestock facilities, are permitted, and on lots with a minimum of 30 hectares, one single detached dwelling is permitted if it's associated with an agricultural use. A-2 zone is located next to an aggregate zone lands, and the special provision prohibits dwellings with the exception of a mobile home on the lands. Surplus residential dwelling will require rezoning of the lands to conform to the zoning bylaw. The A-1 zone in the Perth South zoning bylaw is utilized for single detached dwelling lots that may be deficient in zoning regulations as a result of the surplus farm dwelling severance. The lands to be retained will also require rezoning to prohibit any new permanent residential dwellings, and that A-3 zone in the Perth South zoning bylaw is utilized to prohibit any dwelling or mobile home as a result of a surplus farm dwelling. A condition of the consent, number 3, has been included that will impose restrictions on future permitted uses on the lands, and the condition requiring a zoning bylaw amendment has been recommended as part of the conditions of the application. Notice of the application was given on August 28th by regular mail to adjacent landowners within 60 meters of the lands, and at the time of the writing the report, no concerns have been received from the public. Hydro One, Blue Water Recycling, and Upper Thames Conservation Authority have responded to this circulation and stated that they have no comments on this application. Staff are supportive of the proposed severance, and they're of the opinion that the application is consistent with the provincial policy statement, official plan, subject to the conditions of approval being fulfilled. As such, staff are recommending that the Perth Land Division Committee or its delegate supports the consent. Township of Perth South Council discussed the application on October 3rd. There were no objections or unresolved concerns received from the public. On this basis, the application has been deemed to be undisputed, but we did bring this application to the Land Division Committee to allow you to consider this application in conjunction with other consent application B34-23, so they can all be heard at the same meeting. Staff is supportive of the application and recommend that with the conditions of consent that this application would be approved. And I'm available to answer any questions.
Thank you, Jeff. Okay. Is there anyone wishing to speak on this application, Michelle?
Yes, I believe Montana Wilson would like to speak.
Okay.
Good morning, everyone. I can't see myself on this, but it looks like I'm talking, so I'll go with that. I'm actually here to speak on behalf of B3423. So I don't know if you want to wait for that one, and specifically the Upper Thames piece.
You're muted, Michelle.
My apologies. Jeff, were you going to do 2 separate presentations?
Yes, I do have a little
Okay.
bit different material for the second presentation, and if you'd like, I can present the second one, and then you can hear from Montana and discuss both applications at the same time. If the
Okay.
chair would like to do that.
Why don't we do that then?
Councillor Aitchison?
Yeah, I was just gonna suggest that they both are kind of tied together, so Like, I'm not sure why we wouldn't just do them both and then have the discussion, because that Upper Thames issue is the only thing that's really discussable.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. Okay. If you want to go ahead, Jeff, and then present the other, and then we'll hear from Montana.
Okay, I will do that. Thank you. Sorry, I'm just bringing my presentation up here. Okay, so the second application is B34-23. Again, it's submitted by Caroline Baker on behalf of the same owners. They do have a residential lot that's located in Kingsville that is surplus to their needs. So the severed portion, as mentioned, is 2,817 square meters in area with approximately 65.9 meters of frontage on Perth Line 10. The land contains a one-story detached dwelling with accessory structures, a septic bed, a chicken coop, and a garage. So again, the subject lands are also under consideration of the other application. And the subject lands are also within the regulation limit, and they are comprised of riverline flooding and erosion hazards associated with Flat Creek. So planning staff have consulted with the applicant in the Upper Thames River Conservation in an attempt to resolve the concerns that are being raised by the Upper Thames River Conservation Authority. As the lands are located within a regulated area, they do have some concerns with the slope stability assessment. Upper Thames River Conservation Authority have stated that if the lands to be severed are not located outside of the stable slope, the applicant may need to adjust the requested lot boundary. So planning staff have considered the response provided by the applicant, and they are recommending that a condition, number 8, is included in the decision to ensure that the Upper Thames River Conservation Authority is satisfied with the slope stability assessment, and the recommendation of the assessment is implemented. So we've included that in condition and Upper Thames has reviewed that, and we want to make sure that they are satisfied with the results of the assessment. So again, in this case, the owners have demonstrated that they own a majority share of the subject lands and that they have another farm that contains a residence. And again, this dwelling meets the 10-year minimum requirement. Lands to be retained, as mentioned, are agricultural primary and aggregate resource, licensed pit, limestone resource, and natural resource environment. And I do not feel like I need to go through the official plan policies or the zoning bylaw policies again in this case, as you've already heard them for this application. But I will mention that the official plan goals within the floodplain designation does include the development of a floodplain management programs which ensure proper land use and prevent or minimize the risk of property damage, loss of life, and disruption from the flooding. So as mentioned, Upper Thames have advised that they may have concerns with how those lot lines are dealt with and how they are constructed. And that's why we've included that condition number 8. In light of the official plan policies, if that condition is included, planning staff feel that the application conforms to the official plan policies. There is an accessory chicken coop that is being used to house 3 chickens for the personal use of the occupants on the residential dwelling. As that structure is less than 10 square meters in size, does not need to meet the minimum distance separation setback requirements. And again, with the rezoning application, they would need a rezoning of the severed lands to conform to the A3 zone that would be proposed as a result of the severance. This application was also sent out for notification on August 28th to all homeowners within 60 meters of the property. Hydro One Blue Water Recycling have responded they have no concerns with the application. And as mentioned, Upper Thames Conservation Authority have expressed some concerns as a result of the riverline flooding and erosion hazards associated with Flat Creek. They've asked that the application be deferred until the applicant has addressed their concerns. Township of Perth South did council discuss this application on October 17th. They did pass a resolution to recommend approval of the consent application, subject to the condition number 8 being removed as a list within that list of recommended conditions. Planning staff are supportive of the proposed severance, and we are of the opinion the application is consistent with the resident surplus farming operation as a result of the consolidation policies, provincial policy statement, the county official plan, subject to those recommending conditions being fulfilled. So we support that application with the recommendation that all conditions in the report are included. And again, I'm available to answer questions.
Okay, thank you, Jeff. I guess we'll have Montana do her presentation next.
Okay, thanks, Chair Duncan. Just a few notes on this one. The concern is the erosion hazard. The house is closer to the top of the hill. I did go out and do a Ministry of Natural Resources and Forestry slope stability assessment. It led to an assessment rating of 17, which does not necessitate any future work. It has a low potential for any instability. That was submitted to Upper Thames Conservation Authority. A couple times we went back and forth. They are still not satisfied with that report. However, under the Ministry of Natural Resources guidelines, there, like I said before, does not necessitate any future work. The slope, even by their own mapping and Perth County GIS mapping, is at about 5 to 6 horizontal to 1 vertical overall. I was there on site. You can definitely walk down it, no problem. It's not as steep as the apparent concern seems to be with Upper Thames. So we kindly asked Perth South to recommend removing that condition. They did so. We kindly asked the same thing here, and happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you, Montana. Members of the committee. Councillor Trentowski.
Thanks, Chair, through you. So I guess my question to Montana, A, there's obviously no visual signs of slope failure, and B, no historical slope failure in that area, and C, no monitoring equipment on that property to monitor slope stability, correct?
That's correct to all three of those questions. I did not observe any signs of failure, either historic or future signs. When I was there, no bulges, no tension cracks, no rippling, anything like that. And the house foundation, more importantly, is, I don't know the date of the house, but it's not recent. There's no observed signs of cracking or any movement historically.
No, thank you.
Okay. Councillor Aitchison.
So yes, I'll speak on behalf of Perth South Council. We had a healthy discussion on this application. And that backyard is all landscaped, treed, the whole 9 yards, which should provide really permanent stability for that slope. And I guess the question our council had the most was, what is changing the lot line going to do to anything to do with slope stability? Like basically all we're doing is severing the house and changing the lot line. There's not like there's an application for a building permit, et cetera, to do any construction. That's not going to happen. We just thought that was a little overbearing, wanting a slope stability study when we had the report back from grid engineering saying it wasn't an issue. So that's Perth South's point of view on that, and my own as well.
Okay. Thank you, Councillor Aitchison. Any other questions, comments? Councillor McDermott.
Yeah, from everything I've heard, I would make the recommendation that we remove that condition.
Okay, Councillor. Councillor McKenzie, do you have any comments or questions or?
No, I did have one question, but Hannah already explained that. I just wondered how much the slope was, and she explained that in her presentation, so I'm satisfied with that.
Okay. So I guess moving forward here, I guess we're going to consider both of these applications, each with a separate motion. And the second application is the committee in favor of removing the condition that's been requested to be removed. Anybody opposed to removing that condition? Okay, I don't see anyone. All right, I'm just gonna move over here to the motion. And I have the Perth County Land Division Committee approves the application for consent to sever B 3323 by Anthony and Darla Penner, Robert and Sally Toas, Steve Toas, affecting lands described as Lot 6, EMR Blanchard Ward, Perth South, subject to the conditions in the report. And am I correct, Michelle, in assuming that's the first motion?
That's the motion for B 3323.
And the next one is the one that we're going to remove the condition from. Okay.
Yes, I believe so. Right, Jeff?
So
B 34 that has the UTRCA condition. Yes. Okay.
Yes, that's correct. Through the chair.
So I've read the first motion. Can I get a mover? Councillor McDermott, seconded by Councillor Trentowski.
Great. Councillor Aitchison, how do you vote?
Yes.
Councillor McKenzie?
Yes.
Councillor Trentowski?
Yes.
Councillor McDermott?
Yes.
And Chair Duncan?
Yes.
Carried.
Okay. Now we'll move to the second motion. I've got motion that Perth County Land Division Committee receives the application for consent to sever B 3423 4920 line 10 report, and the Perth County Land Division Committee approves the application for consent to sever B 3423 submitted by Anthony and Darla Penner, Robert and Sally Toas, Steve Toas, affecting lands described as Lot 6, EMR Blanchard Ward, Perth South, subject to the conditions in the report, with the removal of condition number, can you help me out, Michelle? Is it number 8?
Yes, it's number 8.
Correct.
With the removal of condition number 8. Can I get a mover for that? Councillor Aitchison, seconded by Councillor McDermott.
Okay. Councillor Trentowski, how do you vote?
Yes.
Councillor McKenzie?
Yes.
Councillor Aitchison?
Yes.
Councillor McDermott?
Yes.
And Chair Duncan?
Yes.
Carried.
Thank you. Okay. Oh, Councillor McKenzie, do you have a question?
Just have a comment. I think I need to apologize to Montana because when I answered the question that you had asked me, I think I called her by the wrong name. Living in a house with 4 girls, Hannah, Montana is very popular, and it just came out natural. I'm sorry, but I do
No.
apologize.
All good. There's a lot worse things you could probably call me, so it's all good. At least it wasn't Dakota. I often get that one too. Have a good day, everybody.
Thank you, Montana.
Thank
Have a
you,
good
sir.
day. Okay, so we're gonna move along. To application application for consent to sever B 37 23 44 26 Wilmot East Hope Road, and Jeff is going to present that one for us as well. Floor is all yours, Jeff.
Thank you. I'll share my screen again here. Okay, so consent application B 37-23 was submitted by Scott Patterson on behalf of John and Kara Lyskow. Subject application proposes several lot that is considered surplus to the farm operations needs. Purchaser of the agricultural lands owned another farm that's located at 1940 Perth Line 43, which contains a farm residence. The original application requested to sever a portion of the land with an area of 2.34 hectares in size and a lot frontage of 119 meters on Road 111. The land contains an existing dwelling, pond, cow shelter, and 3 accessory structures and services. The retained farmland would have been 37.7 hectares in area with 882 meters of frontage on Road 101. The retained lands are currently vacant and are intended to remain in agricultural production. So planning staff consulted with the applicant to have the lot area reduced in size to an area that could be supported by planning policy. The applicant has revised their severance sketch and are now requesting that the severed portion is approximately 1.19 hectares in area with approximately 119 meters of frontage. The lands will still contain an existing dwelling, a pond, 3 accessory structures, and services. So planning staff are able to support the application with a revised sketch, which now represents a lot that is minimal in size, with the recommended conditions of consent being fulfilled. So the sketch now only includes lands that are needed to accommodate the residential use. So it includes the dwelling, the garage, the pond, structures accessory to the building, and an existing propane line. The lands to be severed are designated as agricultural in the official plan. Planning staff are satisfied that the application meets the requirements of the policies in the official plan. The sketch has removed the cow shelter and the portion of amenity space at the rear of the dwelling that includes an existing irrigation system. And planning staff are of the opinion that the irrigation lands should be kept as part of the retained lands and still could be used for agricultural activities. So the proposed residential lot is now limited in size, does not include any additional lands than what is required for that residential use. It meets the 10-year minimum requirement for a habitable dwelling, and the applicant is still going to be required to obtain a zoning bylaw amendment from the Township of Perth East as a condition of severance. As mentioned, the owners do own a majority share of the subject lands, and they contain another farm that contains a dwelling that is surplus to their needs. Planning staff are of the opinion that the revised sketch conforms with the policies in the official plan. The subject lands are zoned agricultural and natural resource zone 2, environment zone 2. There are no existing livestock facilities on the subject lands, and the surplus residential dwelling will require rezoning of the lands to conform to the zoning bylaw. A condition of that consent, condition number 4, has been included that will impose restrictions on the future uses of the severed and retained lots, and they'll be required to obtain that zoning bylaw amendment. Notice of the application was given on October 6th by regular mail to adjacent landowners within 60 meters of the lands, and a public notice was installed on the property. One resident noted that they had concerns with the application, wanted clarification of what was being proposed. I had left a voice message at the number provided with the applicant, provided by the applicant, and responded with an email on October 18th with additional detail regarding the application. We have not received any further correspondence from that respondent. A second resident also stated that they were opposed to the consent application. They were of the opinion that residential dwellings should not be allowed to be severed from original farm parcels. Agency comments that have come back, we've received comment from Upper Thames River Conservation and Blue Water Recycling. They have no comments or concerns. Hydro One also responded. They noted that the property is impacted by high voltage transmission corridor, and Hydro One has no objection to the proposed severance, provided that the easement rights are being maintained and protected. So Perth East Council discussed the application on November 7th, and they recommended that the Land Division Committee approve the consent subject to the conditions included in the report. Planning staff are supportive of the proposed severance with the revised lot lines, and feel that the application is consistent with the provincial policy statement and the County of Perth official plan, subject to the recommended conditions of consent approval being fulfilled. So it's recommended that the Perth Land Division Committee approve consent file B37-23 with all of the conditions included in the report. And I am available to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you, Jeff. Michelle, do we have anyone wishing to speak on this application?
We do. We have Scott Patterson.
Okay. Welcome, Scott.
Good morning, Chair Duncan. Can you hear me this morning?
We sure can.
Good. So yes, Scott Patterson here on behalf of the property owners this morning. Nothing further to add to Jeff's presentation. Just like to thank him for his efforts on this project. We went back and forth numerous times trying to find a property boundary that was suitable to the property owners as well as the county. And ultimately that was successful with the boundary that's before the committee this morning. I've reviewed the conditions in the staff report, have no questions or concerns. Just here in full support and happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you, Scott. Anyone else, Michelle?
No, that's everybody.
Okay. Committee members? Councillor McKenzie?
Yeah, and Jeff can probably answer this. When I look at the insert there, the reasoning behind having, I'm going to call it a backyard, but there's a fair bit of land, I would say to the west of the property, but I don't know how this property runs north, south, east, or west, but just looks like a lot of lot at the back end. Can you justify that or explain that?
Certainly. So the land on the west side of the property, what's behind the dwelling is a propane line that runs from the garage to the dwelling itself. So there was a fair bit of land back there that was being used for amenity space for the existing dwelling. And beyond that, there's a fence line with a cow shelter that was previously used, that's no longer in operation. And a lot of that land would be grazing land, pasture for the livestock that was out in that area. There are some significant slopes out there, so it will be a little bit difficult to farm some of that land that's beyond the revised lot line, but we did feel that that should be included in the agricultural production because there is opportunity, and it might not be with the next owner, but sometime down the line they may find that they can farm some of that land. But we did try to cut it off as close as we could to that dwelling, while still not eliminating the propane line that is needed for the dwelling. We didn't feel that it was necessary to make them remove that.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions, comments? Okay. I don't see any, so I have a motion that the Perth County Land Division Committee receives the application for consent to sever B3723 4426 Beaumont East Hope Road report, and that the Perth County Land Division Committee approves the application for consent to sever B3723 submitted by Patterson Planning Consultants Inc. on behalf of John and Kara Lakeshow, affecting lands described as Lot 1, Concession 4, Northeast Hope Ward, Perth East, subject to the conditions listed in the report. Moved by Councillor Aitchison, seconded by Councillor McDermott. You're muted, Michelle.
Oh my gosh, I'm doing that a lot today. Councillor Trentowski, how do you vote?
Yes.
Councillor McKenzie?
Yes.
Councillor Aitchison?
Yes.
Councillor McDermott?
Yes.
And Chair Duncan?
Yes.
Carrie.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have the consent file status report. Michelle's going to give us a brief update.
Hey, I'm not on mute. Thank you. Just a quick couple of highlights from the report. So this report was created on November 17th. So as of November 17th, we had 6 new consent applications that are either currently in process, and 1 application that shows in process but has since received delegated approval. We have 8 applications that have been approved through the delegated authority process, and 5 applications have received final approval, for which a certificate of official was sent. Currently, there are 7 applications that are on hold until the applicant and or the solicitor can prepare the additional materials for studies required or they've asked that we put it on hold until they do some other things, or other planning on their end. Does anyone have any questions?
Any questions to Michelle's report? Yeah, I don't see any. So I've got a motion that Perth County Land Division Committee receives a consent file status report. Moved by Councillor McKenzie, seconded by Councillor Tentowski.
Councillor McDermott, how do you vote?
Yes.
Councillor Aitchison,
Yes.
Councillor Trentowski,
Yes.
Councillor McKenzie,
Yes.
and Chair Duncan.
Yes,
Carried. Thank you.
good. So seems we have no correspondence. We have no appeals. We have some other business, which is 9.1 Land Division Committee 2024 hearing dates. And Michelle's going to give us a brief update on that.
Yeah, so just looking forward to 2024, I have kept with the same schedule that we have had for the last few years since I've been here, and that's the last Monday of every month. I assume that everybody's okay with that. If not, let's determine if there's a better time that works for everyone. And also, I'd assume that we would remain virtual unless we need to be in person, again, unless we would like to change that as well.
Okay. Any of the committee members have any questions or concerns with what Michelle's presented?
No, I think that's pretty standard. We're not always going to be like every last Monday, but as long as we have quorum, we're good. But I honestly think staying virtual is the way to go with this, because for us to all drive into Stratford for half an hour, a little better, it's not really worthwhile. Unless we have a really contested one or something.
Yeah.
Okay, everybody else is okay with what's in the report? Okay, looks like it. So I've got a motion here. The Perth County Land Division Committee receives Land Division Committee 2024 hearing dates report, and the Perth County Land Division Committee approves the Land Division Committee 2024 hearing dates report. Moved by Councillor Aitchison, second by Councillor McDermott.
Councillor Trentowski, how do you vote?
Yes.
Councillor McKenzie,
Yes.
Councillor Aitchison, just as you're taking your
Yes.
leave. Councillor McDermott,
Yes.
and Chair Duncan.
Yes.
Carried.
Okay, we have no closed session. Our next meeting date is December 18th, 2023. And I'm going to look for a motion that the Perth County Land Division Committee adjourn at 10:08 a.m. Moved by Councillor Tentowski, seconded by Councillor McDermott.
Councillor McKenzie, how do you vote?
Yes.
Councillor Aitchison,
Yes.
Councillor McDermott,
Yes.
Councillor Trentowski,
Yes.
and Chair Duncan.
Yes,
Carried.
great. Thanks, everyone.
So did you guys in the north and the west get a bunch of snow last night?
Just sprinkling here, Jim.
Did you
No
get much
snow
more?
here.